Hi there, hope you're doing well. This is another timeless message for the collective. And the topic I wanted to cover today is why does the runner run and the chaser chase in the twin flame dynamic? So I'd like to talk about what really, happens when the runner and chaser in the twin flame dynamic actually come face to face for the first time. Now, a lot of twin flames do get activated onto their journey, and sometimes it's not coming face to face. While that is probably the most prominent one, there are twin flames that encounter each other's presence spiritually. They get to know that there's somebody else. They have yet to experience who that is, and so they get activated such as that. Some people in their dream state, some through emails, messages. So there are a lot of ways that you get activated onto the journey. Nevertheless, I can most closely speak to getting activated in person because I do believe that is definitely one of the most common ways that you get activated onto a twin flame journey. Now, when twin flames actually get activated onto the journey for the very first time, it's really about two unhealed versions of a single fractured soul coming together. So this is you coming together with another individual where you are able to see parts of them so deeply without really knowing why, which can be a really scary thing. And automatically, the first thing that you go through is what you can call a very enchanting phase of having this perfect bliss with another individual like you've never experienced it before. Now, those that have been on the twin flame journey, you'll get to know that, this is not going to be your first rodeo. Twin flames are usually coming together after having been through some other relationship, a lot of times marriages. And so you have gone through life a little bit and you recognize the attraction in another individual. You've experienced that a couple of times, but this one feels very, very different. And the reason why this is such a heightened attraction that you go through with your twin flame is because you can actually now, coming together with this individual, see your own parts of yourself within somebody else. So you immediately recognize that and hold on to that very tightly. Shortly after that, and typically this will take place after a couple of weeks of having experienced each other's energy, that you start to now take on a dynamic of a runner and a chaser. Now, most often, it can be that divine feminine is the chaser in the connection and the divine masculine becomes the runner. However, this isn't always the case. We all carry masculine feminine energy within us. So it could be that, a feminine may carry 20% masculine energy and 80% feminine energy. And the opposite counterpart that you're dealing with here could have an imbalance of divine masculine and divine feminine energies. So it's not always the feminine that is the chaser. While that is true, that majority of the times that's the case, this could be the divine masculine is actually the leader in the connection and has more heightened feminine energy than masculine energy. So for the purpose of this message, I want to stay away from divine feminine and divine masculine because it can be a bit confusing. So I will refer to it as the runner and chaser. So immediately after being activated onto this journey, energetically, which this is an energetic connection, you will find that one of the two counterparts will take on the runner dynamic and the other one will take on the chaser dynamic. So going back to why the runner runs and the chaser chases. Typically the chaser is probably the one that is slightly more healed than the runner in this connection. However, the reason why the runner starts to run and the chaser chases is because you act as mirrors to each other. Now, what happens, and I know, divine feminines can probably relate to this the most. what happens in the morning when you first wake up? If somebody was to hold a mirror or a camera straight to your face as you're coming out of bed, which is not the most flattering time that you'd want to look at yourself in the mirror, but if somebody held that up to you or brought a camera to your face early in the morning, how would you react? You would probably push the camera out of your face and remove any recording that's happening or move the mirror away out of your face. So this connection kind of acts the same way. How you feel so unflattered, let's say in the morning, and somebody does that to you and you push them away, is exactly how the runner and chaser react to each other. The chaser wants to hold up the mirror to the runner, and the runner simply wants to run because they are not yet ready to take a look at themselves. This is not their most flattering time for them to be looking at themselves. Especially, you have to think about this connection as two unawakened individuals now meet each other, and they have unhealed parts of themselves that they've either been repressing, pushing out of their way, don't want to look at their traumas. They don't know how to heal from their traumas, and yet now they come face to face with another individual that can see the deepest fears, traumas, an unhealed version of them that they've been most likely hiding from the world. And I'd like to share a quote, and you might have heard of it because it's quite famous. It's by Matt Kahn, and it says, "People can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves." So the chaser, unfortunately, on the twin flame dynamic is trying to meet the runner at a depth that the runner is not ready to meet and look the chaser into their eyes, to have those discussions, to talk about that trauma, that unhealed version of themselves, and therefore they run, which is the easiest thing to do in the connection. If you didn't want to hold up somebody to hold up that mirror to you when you're not ready, what are you going to do? You're going to push it away. And that's exactly what the runner tends to do as a chaser, is trying to dig deep to understand. The chaser has that mentality of just wanting to get to know. They want to get to the root cause of, why is this connection so special? I want to know more. I want to understand more. And the runner's like, I'm running in the other direction. I am not ready to look at this. So again, people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the runner has healing to do, and the chaser has some healing to do as well. However, this is just not the right time and not the right way to go about it. So as long as the chaser continues to chase in the 3D, in the external world, the runner will continue to run. It's like being on a treadmill. It will not come to a halt as long as the chaser is running after them. So remember that the twins are like the yin and the yang. However, until they balance their own internal energies and balance the masculine and feminine within themselves, they cannot come together as one whole soul. So this is really not about the runner and the chaser, the divine feminine and divine masculine, and the union coming together. It is about the divine feminine balancing the masculine and feminine energies within themselves, and the masculine doing the exact same thing before you can come together in union as a whole. So now let's get to, what can you do? What can you do as a twin flame to stop the runner and the chaser dynamic and turn this into a healing journey for the two parts of one soul to come together into union? And the answer to that is very, very simple. Most likely the chaser is the leader in the dynamic. And so if you can identify who the chaser is, great. Nevertheless, even if you are the runner and you're listening to this and you are in a place of receptivity in the connection and able to apply what you're hearing, then You just need to focus on the inside. When you draw that attention from the outside world into your inner being, getting to know yourself. So, if you read sacred texts just about spirituality alone, it will always say you have to learn who you are at the soul level before you can understand who the divine is. So first, know thyself, self-realization before God realization. You must come home to your own self. As you draw that energy in, and mind you, everything that I'm saying has nothing to do with a twin flame connection. This is just basic practices around spirituality in general. You can read anything from, Buddha, there's a lot of famous yogis in India. If you go to the depth and breadth of spirituality, of understanding the soul and meditation, you will understand that this is a very common and basic practice. So that's where you have to start. Get to know your own self. Bring that energy within. As you do that, as you raise your vibration and raise your consciousness, you become magnetic to everything that's outside of you. Once you get to raise your consciousness, you vibrate at a totally different frequency, and you begin to attract in anything that you desire. You no longer have to chase for anything outside of you. And as you start to evolve as the chaser, the runner will be triggered into having a Kundalini awakening as well, which will allow them to raise in vibration as well. And that's how you start to begin to master the art of balancing your masculine and feminine energies within yourself, and raising your consciousness to the third eye level is the goal. So whether twins like it or not, they can try to run from this connection, but a Kundalini awakening is where that avoidant energy actually stops. Kundalini awakening will force twins to heal no matter what. However, the journey is easiest when you don't resist the journey, and chasers don't chase, but rather focus on the internal and upward shift of raising your consciousness and realizing yourself at the soul level. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this message was helpful. God bless, and wishing you all a very happy new year.